With the Social Security number and other pertinent taxpayer information in hand, you need to turn your attention to the taxpayer's filing status. There are 5 filing statuses a taxpayer must qualify for. 2 of the statuses, namely single and married filing jointly, account for well over 4 out of 5 tax returns filed. So the 3 remaining statuses in total make up less than 20% of tax returns. Generally speaking, if on December 31st the taxpayer is unmarried or legally separated by divorce or separate maintenance, has no dependents, and does not qualify for any other filing status, he or she is considered single. For instance, most 16-year-olds living at home would qualify as single. On the other hand, if the taxpayer is married on December 31st and the spouses are jointly filing one tax return, the taxpayer's status is married filing jointly, oftentimes referred to as a joint return, even if only one had income or deductions. If you're married and living apart, you can still file a joint return. If the spouse died during the tax year and the taxpayer did not remarry, they should file a joint return. If the spouse died during the tax year and the surviving spouse remarried, the surviving spouse can file a joint return with their new spouse, and the deceased spouse tax return would then be married filing separate. What is married filing separate? A married couple may choose this status whether they are living together or they are living apart. These taxpayers want to be responsible for only their own tax. Now, when a taxpayer does this, there are a lot of limitations. For example, if one of the spouses itemizes, then the other must itemize as well. Neither can deduct student loan interest, and they won't qualify for the earned income credit, just to name a few. More are listed in your book. Although there are instances where married filing separate status is advantageous, they are few and far between. Most tax preparation software will perform a test to tell you when the party should file separately, so it simplifies the decision. Incidentally, less than 2% of the tax returns filed use this status. The third most common status is head of household. If the taxpayer on December 31st is considered unmarried and for more than 6 months the home was the principal residence of a qualifying person on their tax return, they can file as head of household. Furthermore, they must have paid more than half the cost of maintaining the home for the whole tax year. They can still meet this test if the taxpayer cannot claim the child as a dependent, if the taxpayer stated in writing that the non-custodial parent might claim an exemption for the child rather than your client, the custodial parent. Okay, so let's say that Mary and Tom divorced 2 years ago. Mary, under the divorce decree, is the custodial parent for Matt, their son. In addition, in the divorce decree, Mary agreed to let Tom, the non-custodial parent, claim the exemption, even though Matt lives with Mary the whole year. In this case, Mary can still report as head of household, even though her son Matt is being reported as a dependent on Tom's tax return. In determining a taxpayer's filing status for head of household, you should consider the cost of maintaining a household. Cost includes rent, mortgage interest payments, real estate taxes, insurance on the home, repairs, utilities, and food eaten in the home. It does not include clothing, education, medical treatment, vacations, life insurance, eating out, or transportation. The fifth filing status is a qualifying widow or widower with a dependent child. If the taxpayer was entitled to file a joint return with the spouse for the tax year in which the spouse died, did not remarry before the end of the tax year, has a qualifying child and paid more than half the cost of maintaining a household, then he or she qualifies for widow or widower with dependent child status. Now, the advantage here is that they can report their standard deduction as if the spouse were still living. Having determined the form and filing status, you're now ready to look at the dependents.